then it's sort of like building a team, you know, putting together a team. And I think you should have a world-class team. And I think your team is always going to build, and you're always going to get better and better. And I think with your team, you should, if you're going to stay with the same members, is you continue to grow and they continue to grow at the same time. And if they don't, and you are outgrowing, then you can find somebody else as well. So we've got a lot of people that we recommend for team, like Sam said, in terms of mortgage broker, buyer's agents, everybody that you need. We'll go through who you need. But then the question is, like, you've worked out your goal, you know, you got cash and wages. The question is, like, do I speak to my accountant first, or do I speak to my mortgage broker first? I typically tell people to go find out what their borrowing capacity is first from a mortgage broker. So speak to a mortgage broker first. This is what I typically say. Sam might say differently. And then go to your accountant and say, hey, like, I want to buy a property. This is what my borrowing capacity would be. For you listening, typically it's going to be in your personal name. If you're buying your first one in a trust, then maybe you speak to your accountant first, because you've got what Sam talked about before. You might have a business and you want to keep things separate and for liability issues and reasons. But yeah, it's going to change as things evolve. I typically like to go, what's my borrowing capacity, and then speak to an accountant. Or you could just speak to a broker and an accountant who does the same thing, and that's one person.
Or another or we can throw in there for you is talk to your mortgage broker and say, I'm not sure whether I want to do personal name or trust. Get them to run both scenarios, and then you can get the educated opinion, take that to your accountant, have that conversation, you walk away. Because even as, like, obviously every professional has experience. Well, they should have experience. If they don't, then, you know, don't deal with them. But they've got an opinion, and everyone's opinion is different in this world. So end of the day, the buck stopped with you, and you can outsource as much as you can, but the end result of this whole journey you're about to go through will be a property in your name that you're required to earn an income out of, get capital growth out of, but also maintain and manage a property manager who's, you know, renting that asset out to a tenant. So the buyer's agent's no longer involved in your life. If a good buyer's agent, they should reach out every 12 months just to see how it's going. And same with a mortgage broker. And obviously your accountant, you're meeting with them every year anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And so once you've bought your first I'm just going to add this in here. It's not in linear fashion of how the podcast is evolving, I guess. But once you do buy your first property, or you've bought a couple of properties, it's worth, like you said, every couple of months checking in with your mortgage broker and, you know, looking at your property value. It can be every 3 months, but typically every 6 months is a good way, because then you see how much is your property worth, and then you can also work out what's my borrowing capacity with what cash I have or don't have. And then you work out what, you know, you start to play the game of finances, which is a much more important game than playing a game of, like, how do I distribute? I mean, it's important to work out how do you distribute your time, but spending your time on working for somebody else when you could spend your time working on your own finances and putting your money to work for you instead of you working for money. Working out, like, all right, on my first property or on my second property, how much cash do I have? What's my borrowing capacity based on, like, the properties that I have and their values? And then when can I go again? I think that's really good, like, property finance checkup every 6 months to move. If you've got an aggressive goal that you want to get to in a short period of time, then staying on top of that is so key.
Also motivates you too.
Yeah.
And 6 month growth it's never guaranteed, and obviously the investment side of property is we want to maximise that return in the first 2 years, hence why we track a lot of data. But yeah, you can see how it can actually work, and it might just be 20 grand or 30 grand, but it's that 30 grand appreciated in value that you didn't work for. You've done all that hard work, you hit that, you sign the contract, the property is yours, you put the tenant in there. It's pretty passive on that front. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously maintenance and things do pop up, but that's just a part of doing business.
Yeah, say you buy a 500k property and it grows by, just say it grows by like 40 grand in a year. Maybe you've got 40 grand of capacity, 40 grand equity there, and you can then maybe save 20 grand in that year. That's 60 grand. Maybe you could purchase something again, right? And it might be 1 year, or it might be, you might wait a year and a half. You might wait 2 years. And you can see that by you being a beginner and putting your money to work for you and using finance, is that you can typically build a larger deposit through the equity that you build as the property value increases than what you could typically save as an employee, which is a big aha moment for people, right, Sam? When they're like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what motivates you to go through and keep pushing forward and learning and evolving on that front. But yeah, we're passionate about it. It's helped us, and we definitely helped a lot of people understand this process.
Yeah.
But it all starts with education, and 101 for beginners is zero to hero. Here we are.
Yeah.
I'd just say once you've got your goal, right? Then you've got your borrowing capacity and your structure. Then you go, okay, cool. You now have earned the right to go shopping, essentially. So there's all that setup is so key, and from that point of view too. This is where if you choose to go down the buyer's agent route, then you'll have a pretty long strategy session, basically about an hour or so, just talking through what this asset actually looks like. I would going back one step is just if you're not going down the buyer's agent route, then you need to have these conversations with yourself before you start going shopping, because you want to get your defined criteria of your must-haves and your nice-to-haves, because one, you want to make sure that it is good, it's an asset that is going to appreciate in value, and if you're not going through a buyer's agent, then you may not have that access to that that growth data, and also the experience around what assets do perform better than others. But then even going into what is it that you're looking for in an investment? Some people come to me and they say, Sam, I want a minimum of 600 square meters. I want 30 minutes from a CBD, and I've only got $600,000, and we want positive cash flow. And that's like, okay, cool. This is that hard conversation that you have, and say that doesn't exist. Some people don't think that I am telling the truth on that front, and then they spend the next 12 months looking around, realizing it for themselves, and then during that 12-month period, they haven't been in the market.
Opportunity cost, huge opportunity cost of not being in the market. You've just missed out on 12 months of growth, of the cash deposit you have, and also the finance you could have used to secure something cheaper. 12 months ago, you miss out on a lot of growth of putting your money to work for you.